In the last video we discussed what we want to build, and today I wanted to touch base on a slightly improved framework itself that will be a foundation for all of our experiments going forward. I added just a little tiny bit to it, if you remember from the previous pictures that we had before, and now that's how it looks like. I decided to go with 10 main categories across the whole things, and there is a little bit of design issues still that I will need to fix, but the categories that I wanted to cover are the identity and access, secrets management, infrastructure security, data protection in general, CI/CD security, monitoring and detection, governance and policy, incident response, and lineage and traceability. And the last but not least, because we work on a AI-assisted tool, and it makes sense to just highlight it as a separate category to have AI-assistant security operations. In a model world, you cannot get away from it, and now it's basically a norm, and you need to adapt to be on the forefront, or at least not at the very back of the crowd. Now, in terms of levels, there are 5 levels across all of each categories. Level 1 basically means that you don't really have that much of a capability in that category. So, for example, for the identity and access, level 1 would be that we have shared accounts used across teams instead of individual accounts, and that we have manual user provisioning everywhere, including production. And the last part of this one, to at least have something, is that permissions assigned without documented process, but they can be assigned. That would be level 0 if you have a system without permissions in place at all, or maybe level 6. On a second level, we have finally the role-based access control model documented, and then everything is configured and permissions are granted based on that model. User roles are standardized, so it's not something that I need to have access to 7 separate things, and because of that the new role would be created just for myself. And the next is that access request process is established. Level 3 is that we finally have SSO integrated, and I decided to put it here, but as I was saying, this is an example of the framework, and the beauty of what we're going to build is that this maturity model, it can be adjusted and it can be updated. It's just some sort of a starting point, not necessarily the end result. Next, in level 3 is a centralized IAM management and the automated provisioning and deprovisioning of users. Number 4, or level 4, is a periodic access reviews are automated, and it is assumed that you was doing those access reviews beforehand, but in a manual way. And then the access metrics are tracked, and that is kind of intertwined with monitoring and detection. And the last is that unused permissions are identified and eliminated, basically in an automated process as well. Level 5, and that is common across the board, I tried to add some AI-specific tools and basically have as much automation and as much AI tooling assistance across all of those categories as was possible. So for level 5, for the identity and access, I wanted to have the AI recommends the least privileged access, so basically reviews the airbag model that we have at level 2. Next, we have a behavior-based access risk detection, and basically it means that based on the access patterns of different users, we can highlight some risky operations in advance. And the last part that I added over here is adaptive permissions based on usage patterns. Basically, if a user has been using only one table, then it would be better to restrict his access to that table only, instead of granting a wider role, and basically to make it once again in an automated pattern. Then for the secrets, we have 5 levels as well, and 3 in each. I will quickly go through them. So credentials stored in files, which is not secure, secrets shared manually, so copy paste in Slack or something like that, and hard-coded secrets in your code base, they do exist, which we don't want. Level 2 is we have centralized vault to save and share the secrets. The secret ownership is defined, so it's not that someone created a secret and that's it. We have a specific owner who can grant access and control the lifecycle of the secret. Usage of those secrets is documented. That would be level 2. Level 3 is automated secret rotation, so we don't want to have long-lived credentials at all. And dynamic secret generation, so instead of having those even short-lived credentials, the secrets should be created on the fly and with a very small lifespan. Last for that is that we have a CI/CD integration with Vault. Level 4 would be secret access monitoring, expiration tracking, so the sooner that expiration date is, you would need to have some sort of notification, and usage metrics are available of all of the secrets that are involved or used in your system. For level 5, once again, AI detects unusual secret usage, and AI recommends the rotation policies for all of the secrets and all of the things that you want to keep secure, and predictive exposure detection. Basically, you would be able to predict when the secret would be exposed for some reason. For the infra, we have the manual infrastructure deployment. When it is level 1, the security settings configured manually, all of them, and that you don't have some sort of a baseline for your infrastructure and go by your gut, pretty much. On level 2, you finally have the infrastructure as code, and it doesn't really matter what kind of tool you use to have that infrastructure as code. It could be Pulumi, it could be Terraform, it could be just scripts. Next, you have the baseline security documentation available, and templates that you use for the deployment, they are standardized, and not that one team works with Terraform, another team works with Pulumi, and everyone writes the code however they like. Number 3, or level 3, is that you have security scanning enabled for your infrastructure, as well as misconfiguration scans, and compliance checks are integrated into the CI/CD pipelines for your infrastructure. For the level 4, we want to track drift of your infrastructure and perform some actions based on that. And security posture metrics are collected and available for investigation later on. The last bit for the level 4 is compliance coverage is measured across your infrastructure. So you don't just say that we compliant with something, but to what degree and in what systems, and with much more details than just compliance in general. For level 5, once again, AI proposed remediation actions and some fixes for your infrastructure on a regular basis. So periodically to have a code scan and suggest some updates to your infrastructure, and as well that AI can predict risks that your infrastructure can bear based on your configuration, based on your code. And the last one is once again adaptive policy enforcement. So your policies as code that we will come back later, they need to be adaptive and not very rigid. Next category is data protection. And here we start with sensitive dataset identified just manually. There is no consistent data classification across the board, and ownership of those datasets is unclear, and there is no specific people or stewards assigned to control, access, and own datasets. On level 2, we have data classification process documented, as well as data owners finally assigned, and they can then grant permissions on data, and protection standards are defined, and you know what kind of rules your datasets, all of them, need to follow. For level 3, we have automated tagging implemented, so your data would be scanned on a fly, and tags would be applied to correct columns, correct data types, etc. And metadata, it would be synchronized across your datasets, across different environments, and so on. And classification rules would be enforced. So basically, if you know that something needs to be marked as private or PII data, then those rules would be enforced, and access to that kind of data would be restricted based on those classifications. For level 4, we would have the classification coverage measured, and basically it would mean that we can track how many different classifications of data do we have, and how your data quality going. Then you would track the unclassified data, what happens with it, and basically treat it as classified data as well to a certain degree. And protection metrics would be monitored as well. For level 5, yet again, we have AI, because AI is going to be everywhere, and AI identifies sensitive datasets as well as exposure risks. And the last, similar to all of the previous one, we have the adaptive classification policies. And if the nature of the data changes on the fly, so needs your classification policies applicable to that dataset in particular. Next, we have CI/CD, and with level 1 it starts easy yet again, but with a security focus. Security reviews are performed manually, and CI/CD is not in a picture yet. They are scanning before release only, so you don't really try to shift your security scans left as soon as possible, but basically only before you click the final button you would do those security checks. And the last but not least, before we have no CI/CD pretty much in terms of security yet, no pipelines controls are implemented. So pipelines couldn't break because of the security risks, because we don't track them. On level 2, we start scanning dependencies. So using something like Trivy, for example, you can check one of my videos about that. Then we have static analysis tools introduced to check how your code base looks like from the static analysis perspective. And security checklists are established. You want to know what you want to test in terms of the security. In level 3, you have security gates in your CI/CD pipelines enforced, and basically it means that if one of those checks from the checklist before fails, then the security gate should block the deployment going forward. Next, we have container scanning integrated. If you have those containers, and I think I mentioned that before with this framework, first of all, it can be adjusted, and secondly, some of those categories might be a bit too generic or might not. But the last bit for level 3 is that we have artifact verification. Basically, we treat every code that you would have as an artifact, and you need to verify it on top of container scanning, because it is a little bit more specific. For level 4, we want to trend how your vulnerability is treated, not just what you have in terms of vulnerabilities, but what are the trends, how long does it take to fix your vulnerability issues. Next, you want to track mean time to repair, basically how long does it take for your pipeline to fix some issue in your production environment. And coverage metrics, yet again, are collected. So not only you want to have those metrics available, but you want to have them saved in a central place, so you would have a holistic view of your system, not only from how it performs in production, but how it got into production. Level 5, yet again, AI would prioritize their findings from your CI/CD, and someone would need to work on those findings based on priorities. And as well, AI can help with the fixes for the CI/CD processes. So it would be in a real-time or semi-real-time manner. The last is risk-aware deployment recommendations. Basically, based on a risk factor of given deployment, it would be recommended to go ahead with this or not to perform this deployment. Monitoring and detection, it is a very important bit to have from data platform perspective or from any solution. Level 1 is that you have logs and you will need to do some manual activity if you would want to investigate the issue. And the visibility of those logs is limited. So while you might have some logs, it not necessarily fully cover everything that you want to know about the system and when you do that investigation. With level 2, you would have alerts, at least some alerts, when something happens in your system, and dashboards as well. So you not only monitor critical things, but as well some medium warnings etc. And those would be visible on a dashboard in terms of the metrics of your system. And then you have the strategy defined on level 2. On level 1, you don't need to have a strategy how you want to grow with your monitoring, but with level 2, it is a requirement. For level 3, it would be the correlation to be implemented, and you would be able to see how certain metrics affect other log types. Level 3 is you have the centralized observability. Basically, it means that you don't need to jump between different systems, and if you before that had only logs in Splunk, for example, now you would push your metrics and all observability things that you want to have into that same system, instead of going to different views, etc. to check what's going on. And number 3, under level 3, is detection rules. They need to be automated. Next, for level 4, we have effectiveness to be measured of those detection rules, and false positives should be tracked as well as true positives. So when the issue is alerted, you need to understand why it was alerted, if it was a false positive or not, and you don't want to have those false positives too much. So you need to know how many of them are in your system. And the last for level 4 is to have the alert coverage. So you don't want to have alerts only on critical systems, but you want to know what is the coverage for all of the alerts and different types of events that can, well, be created from your system. For level 5, you want to detect anomalies in your logs in an AI way, and to have some sort of a summarization of incidents as well, instead of trying to come up with that summarization yourself. AI can help you and summarize the whole issue that happened. And the last, the predictive threat detection. Try to react before something happens. For the governance, and this is a very important category just by itself, because you don't want to have your data platform as a Wild West, and not from the security point of view especially. You would have security practices based on tribal knowledge. So basically you have your platform team, you have your data engineering team, and you have your data visualization team, and they all work by themselves and rarely communicate with each other in terms of how things are going. And you don't have a formal policy structure for pretty much anything across your data platform, and responsibilities to maintain and develop this platform are unclear. For level 2, we have policies finally being documented, the security ownership is defined across the whole board, and review processes are established. So you know who owns something and how to review the effectiveness of those policies that you documented to implement the security for the given data platform. For level 3, you have policy as code and automated compliance validation according to those policies that you have. And policies are integrated into your workflows. From the development perspective, when the data comes in, how everything is done, all of those checks should be integrated into your work. For level 4, we want to have compliance metric collected and to have policy violations to be measured and coverage of those policies across the system to be tracked. So when something new comes up, you wouldn't have a policy for this right away, most likely, and you would want to cover that. Level 5 would be something what we are building right now. So it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When AI would review the architecture from the security perspective and how those architectures and diagrams are compliant with the framework and all of the policies that you want to have. Next, AI would also recommend controls in place for all of those policies. And the last is, once again, adaptive governance in a continuous way. Next one would be the incident response as a category. And for level 1, we want to have incident to be handled, obviously, but we agree that it can be ad hoc. Knowledge dependent on individuals, so very close to the tribal knowledge from the governance and policy. And you don't have any standard policies for the incidents, so no runbooks, no playbooks, how to handle whatever is happening. For level 2, we finally have those runbooks documented and escalation paths, those are defined. So if something cannot be handled by level support, then it would be escalated and people would need to know how to do that properly. And as well, we have roles during the incident handling. So who owns the incident, who needs to be notified, and how they need to be notified. All of that needs to be documented and well known in advance. For level 3, we finally have some automation in place. So playbooks for the most common incidents that you expect could happen should be automated, and ticket integration is enabled. When something happens, your monitoring system should create an alert, and based on that alert, the new ticket could be created. And response workflows for those tickets can be standardized. So people don't really need to think at 2 a.m. in the morning what to do, how to respond to workflow. Number 4, or level 4 for the incident is that we would finally have postmortems in place. So from the SRE culture, it's on level 4 over here. And the response metrics are measured. How fast, how good, etc. How often. In addition to postmortems, for level 4 we want to keep lessons learned in a central place. Well, it kind of makes sense that they go hand in hand. Level 5, as it was common across the board, as I said, AI would generate incident timelines and help with the creation of those postmortem documents. And as well, it will help with the remediation attempts. Instead of going through Confluence page and looking for a correct playbook, if something is not triggered automatically, people who would be handling those incidents would be able to check with the AI agent in terms of what to do and even maybe let it do the fixing. And the last, as was common across them, we have predictive incident prevention. So pretty much you want to prevent the incidents before they happen, if it is possible. Next category is lineage and traceability. So dependencies are documented only manually somewhere on Confluence. Data flow diagrams maintained in a manual way. So once again on a Confluence, when there is a change, someone would go and update that draw.io diagram. And the last one is that we have limited visibility into changes. When data source changes, you don't really know what it will affect, which comes naturally from that manual process. With level 2, we have some lineage tools introduced, something like Dataplex or Data Catalog now, or maybe something else. The ownership of their data is mapped, so that one is really close to the data ownership, data set ownership from the data protection, and data relationships are documented. Next, level 3, we have automated lineage collection that would come naturally from some sort of a tool, like we did it for the GCP with a data form. And metadata integration is enabled, obviously. And the last is that we have impact analysis supported. So if data source X would be changed, what are the data artifacts down the line would be impacted. For level 4, we have lineage completeness to be measured, as well as coverage to be tracked. And the last is we want to change risk metrics to be collected and available in a centralized place for their monitoring. Level 5, AI, is that we are going to have predictions about the downstream impact before we make them. And AI would help to identify hidden dependencies. If you don't really have them, AI would be able to help and uncover those dependencies even through multiple hops, even through some unclear, untracked dependencies whatsoever. And the last is that we have the adaptive risk scoring. Last category that I wanted to have is AI-assisted security operations, and this is all about AI that would be very different or quite different from all of the rest of the categories. But in a modern world, you need to have those tools available in your toolbox. Number 1, under level 1, is that you don't have AI, and it is a human-driven investigations only for the security incidents. You also have only the manual information collection in terms of what is happening in your system. And the last, basically to highlight it, is that there is no AI support whatsoever. Level 2 is already beta, and we have some chatbots available, and that mostly means that your organization agrees that people who would work for the data platform, for the security, can use those AI chatbots, and it's not always the case, and sometimes you need to have those permissions and approvals first, which can take some time. Knowledge search is enabled across your documentation base, and basic recommendations are generated, but just the basic ones, and there is no trust in the AI systems and solutions yet. For level 3, AI would start to summarize their findings, not only about their current issues, but just in general for your system and your solution architecture, as well as it will start to assist with investigations on a broader scope. And the last but not least, you would offload the burden of generating the reports to AI. Reports in terms of the security and the health of your system. For level 4, we would start to introduce agents, and those agents can execute approved workflows. So offloading all of the burden of doing the actual work. And those actions can be monitored and can be tracked, and that will give your trust into those workflows that are executed by agents. And the last but not least, we are going to track the performance metrics. How good are those agents, how much time they save, and how better the response time of the incidents, for example, or the security issues that were uncovered. For level 5, we would have the multi-agent orchestration, so it's not just one agent that can do something, but multiple agents to be orchestrated by the central one. and we would have the human in the loop in terms of their governance. So when something needs to be changed, humans would be able to validate and refine their actions to be taken. And the last is self-improving security workflows. So AI agents would not be only to be used to be do something, but they can train themselves on top of that and update the workflows that would be performed going forward in the future. All right, that was a maybe not so quick overview of the framework, but I hope it gave you some sort of an idea of what I want to build and how it could be used. In the next video, it would be a fun exercise to proof of concept this framework, so stay tuned.